On today's episode, learn how to turn good questions into comfortable conversation. Stay tuned.
Hi guys, I'm Grace Lapoy, and I'm here with David Lowe, the automotive sales coach.
Yeah.
And like he said, today we're talking through turning good questions into those comfortable conversations and what that looks like to really have a good conversation that gets me some more great information.
Yeah, right. So, conversationalists, we're kind of lost, isn't it? Right?
Oh, yeah.
So, we're going around to dealerships, automotive sales coach. We have many dealerships, and we love to spend time in dealerships, love salespeople. We're career salespeople.
Absolutely.
We love them, and we want to help encourage them, inspire them to be better, right? And one of the things we've noticed that during COVID, a lot of people isolated, right? And even on the showroom floor, a lot of people spend more time kind of looking at their phone than conversing, right? So many salespeople today started during that COVID and haven't really been exposed to it. And maybe many of our salespeople in their 20s kind of grew up in the video game era and the iPhone era and then the COVID era. And this art of conversation has kind of fallen by the wayside.
That's right.
I also, many adults that I know,
Right. Not just sales.
not just, right?
Any profession.
Just have lost the art of conversation. It's almost like the Seinfeld comedy was all about self. Right. I thought we were talking about me here. So Elaine would talk about herself, and Jerry would hijack the conversation, talking about himself, and that would go right. That was the funny part of it.
Right.
That's why this dysfunctional relationship. They looked like they were always together, but they weren't. They were always focused on what? Self. Right. So this conversation, the art of conversation, has been a little bit lost. Now, if you've been following the podcast, you know we've done many episodes on communication. Communication is the key to customer service.
Right.
It's the key to sales. We've done episodes on natural curiosity, asking good questions, active listening, right? Listening for what's being said, not said, or trying to be said, right? We've done episodes all that support this, and I bet we come back and do more episodes about
I'm
it.
sure we will.
We all have to be reminded what we believe, and you know what? Pro athletes constantly practice the basics, so we're going to talk about the basics all the time.
I think it's great.
If you execute the basics brilliantly, you'll be a champion. So one of those basic things, using all those things, active listening, natural curiosity, asking good questions, is creating this comfortable conversation, right? And comfortable conversation is kind of a give and take, where I actually begin to put more value on what you're saying than what I'm saying. I put more value on what? You than on me.
Right.
Try it. It's hard, right? We're moving so quick through time. So I want to give you some tips for that today. And by the way, this is a skill set that is under attack just by the pace of life today.
That's right.
And so if you've become weaker than you want, self-examining, like we did an episode on, if you self-examine, go, well, I'm not really great at this anymore. Maybe I was never good at this. By the way, we had a young salesman that went through our 21-day fast start, the certification program, and from the dealership playbook, and said, I was telling my wife, you guys are teaching me to actually create good conversations. And now this is a very young salesman who's discovering for the first time that they've been asking questions like a list,
Right.
not using questions as a bridge to a conversation. Isn't that crazy?
It's crazy.
But I think that happens naturally. So you don't know what you don't know. So let's remind ourselves, a good conversation, give and take. I'm putting more value on the other person than myself. So what is the goal of this conversation? Now, if you're in sales, the first goal of your conversation really is to understand your buyer, your client.
Right.
How do you serve someone you don't understand?
Right.
How do you advise someone that you don't understand? How do you consult with somebody that you don't really know? I don't know anything about you. I don't know what you want, why you want it, how it fits your life, but I'm going to tell you what you should do. How do you do that?
Right.
So we want to start some conversation, right? And we want them talking about who they are. Let's talk about that, Grace. Who somebody is.
Right. Who somebody is. We've really broken that down into those 3 key areas, right? Their family, their work, and their play or their hobbies.
Yeah.
Right. You can learn so much from somebody just in talking to them for 30 seconds and asking some questions.
Isn't it crazy?
Yeah.
So we're going to go back. So we talk about why they want a vehicle. Not just what they want, but why they want it.
Right.
And, of course, who they are.
Who
And
they
you
are.
just covered who, family, work, and play. Now, we've done this many times in training classes. We'll have a salesman stand up and we'll say, tell us about you. And what are 3 things I always mention?
Family, work, and play.
So when people naturally discuss themselves, now, listen, this is not new. It was Dale Carnegie in How to Win Friends and Influence People that said, find their motivation, occupation, recreation, and family. Sound familiar? Right. We use different words, same principle. The same principles are available from many different sources. Principles are natural laws that have always been. People who are seeking excellence find them and apply them to whatever they're doing. Okay, so this natural law of seeking to understand who you are gets you talking about your family, work, and play. I could do it like this. Okay, Grace, so you're interested in a Jeep. So do you have a family? Okay. So I can start, and go right after. And that's okay.
Right.
But it may feel a little forced.
A little.
Yeah. And over the years, sales teams, sales trainers, managers, dealers, people who've owned, they've instead of training people, they started making a list. They called it an interview or a needs analysis, where people ask these questions and fill out the blanks. You know what I mean?
Right.
And the whole idea behind the questions had been lost. I guarantee you the person who first made that needs analysis or the interview had in their mind, I'm going to give my salespeople some good questions they can ask to get a conversation rolling.
That's right.
But over time, without training, they just became what? Let's play 20 questions, Mr. Customer. And nobody likes that.
Right.
Salesmen don't like doing it. Customers don't like being put through it. Now, there's information we need to know. Right? So if I'm looking for a car, what do you want to know about me? Do you want to know why I picked that car?
Absolutely.
Do you want to know what I do for work?
I would like to know that.
Would you like to know if I'm using it for any family or recreational things?
Absolutely.
There's a lot of things that you like to know, because when people buy products, they're not really actually buying the product. They're buying what that product does for them.
Right.
At Automotive Sales Coach, a Dealership Playbook, in all our coaching and training, we say people buy lifestyles. They don't buy cars, and it's true. They buy what the car represents. Lifestyles, family, work, and play, right?
That's right.
And by the way, we say play, but don't we mean what's important outside of work?
Right.
Some people, it's volunteering, right? What do you do with their time? I've got people like, I go and I walk dogs at the pound, right? What a great thing
awesome.
to do with their spare time.
Right.
So they're not playing golf or whatever, but they have something that's very important to them, and they use their car to get there, part of their lifestyle.
Right.
So play really means that outside activities, we might call it hobbies. I don't know if walking a dog is a hobby. So let's just call it anything, the way they like to spend their time when they're not at work, right?
There we go.
And that's kind of what it is. All right. Now, wouldn't it be better if I could ask some good questions to get you to naturally talk about these things?
That it would be.
Instead of sitting down, how many kids do you have? Do you have 2.3 kids? And what do you do for work? And where do you work? And how many miles do you drive?
Right.
And, so these are good questions that come off very robotic that I may be able to answer by creating comfortable conversation.
That's right. And I think sometimes, David, we talk about flip the script. If you were the person being asked the questions, how would you feel?
Yeah.
If you are entering into a place to buy a car or do something that's not out in your everyday routine and you're a little bit uncomfortable, how would you like to feel?
Yeah.
Would you like to feel like the person talking to you cares about what you're doing and they ask questions and they want to get to know you? Think about that. Even in the reverse, how would I feel?
Yeah. So, Grace, before I can show you anything, I need to fill out this form of 20 questions. Or would it be, hey, well, rock and roll, thank you for being here. I really appreciate it, and I can help you out. So let's talk about it. What's going on? Are you guys replacing your refrigerator? Are you guys adding a refrigerator to the house? Whatever it is, I can ask a question to hopefully get the customer to feel comfortable telling me their story.
That's right.
It's amazing to me how much people want to tell us their story and how little salespeople are listening.
Right.
I think we think it takes too much time, but we know slow is fast with people. When you slow down and have this comfortable conversation and learn your buyer's motivations, like why are they doing this? Why do they want this now? How does it fit their lifestyle, right? When you slow down and learn that, everything else speeds up.
Everything else.
The sale closes much faster than if you speed up here. You're going to slow down during product selection and closing, and it's going to cost you a ton of money.
Right.
So holding a comfortable conversation is as simple as this, right? From our episode, Natural Curiosity, right? I think that it was Chris who penned it, said, the more curious you become, the more interested in their answers you become.
Right.
And once you become more interested in their answers, you tend to ask better questions, right? Isn't that a natural thing that happens? And I think that is true. So we're going to come up with, if I'm going to be a good conversationalist, Pastor Todd, the last church I was at where I played bass for him, and pastor was a guitar player, really loved him, Todd Fisher. He would say, we're going to have this moment of everybody's going to stand up, shake your neighbor's hand, and you might ask them these 3 questions. He actually gave the congregation, you might ask these 3 questions, and those might start a what? Conversation. So it's okay to be prepared to start a conversation.
Right.
It's okay to have, I'm going to my wife's company cocktail party, and I'm not going to know anyone there. I have a few questions if I'm standing up there by the bar and there's another husband or a spouse, a wife or somebody, and I just want to pass the time in comfortable conversation.
Right.
Here's a couple questions I could ask to get the ball rolling, to show interest. So I think the desire to have this comfortable conversation has to be there.
That's a big thing.
And then maybe some preparation with some good questions. Throughout the dealership playbook, no matter what step we're at, we give, silent appraisal, we have good questions.
That's right.
Understanding goals, we have good questions.
That's right.
Doing exploration, we have good questions. During the trial close, we have good questions, right? We actually provide the good questions for our students. These good questions were designed not to be a task, but to create that comfortable conversation to turn into a comfortable result.
That's right.
So I think being prepared, wanting a conversation, wanting to know people, of course, seeing value and understanding others, I think, and then maybe being prepared with a couple good questions, right? And then, of course, there's the ability, as we talked about before, to actively listen, to slow down your brain, not be prepared to respond, to hear what's being said. And when we're listening to what's being said, we're looking for our next question.
That's right.
Right? So when somebody says, so what made you guys decide, what's going on in your family that you needed to add a car now? Well, my daughter just moved home from college. She just graduated, and she's going to be living at home for a while, and so we need a 3rd car. Okay. Did they just share some information with you?
That's right.
Daughter, graduated, college.
Right.
Now, did they want you to know that?
They did.
Obviously. Do they want to brag about it?
Absolutely.
Probably, right? And so, as a comfortable conversation, I don't go to my next question. I go, oh, rock and roll. So your daughter graduated college. That's a proud moment.
Right.
And,
Well, the doors opened up.
boom, the doors open up. I might even say, that's awesome. That's a big accomplishment. What was her degree, right? Right. Get them talking. If you can a lot of people aren't very comfortable talking, but as soon as you get them going, you sometimes can't shut them up. They want to talk, but nobody's listening, so they've given up.
Right.
As soon as they realize you're listening, they're going to want to talk to you.
Right.
And if they feel listened to, they'll feel valued.
Right.
They'll feel appreciated. Isn't that the point?
That's the point.
Comfortable conversation is when we make the other person the star.
Mm-hmm.
We want to know, hey, I want to tell you what's on my mind. So I'm going to manipulate you by asking you a question. No, I want to know you. I want to understand you better.
Seek first to understand than to be understood.
Yeah. So Covey said that in the 80s, and we'll go back 3,000 years. Solomon said, he who answers a matter before hearing it is his folly and his shame. So many salespeople want to go out and present products before they know the person.
That's right.
Right? We should always put people before products and pricing.
And this is really why it's so interdependent on everything else, right? Active listening, slow is fast with people. There's so many core topics that work together, because I also know that buying something, whether it's a refrigerator or for you maybe a mic set, right, a speaker system or a car, it's really about emotion.
It is.
Right? It's 80% emotion, 20% logic. It's kind of our rule of thumb. And so why not slow down a little bit to learn about that 80%?
That's right.
Right? If I know that 80% of whatever it is that you're buying is really going to come from your emotion and your lifestyle, why not take 5 minutes to get a lot of information that's going to help you and help me? And I'm facilitating that conversation.
That's awesome.
Right?
And you're right, it doesn't take long.
Right.
We find that we learn so much in just a few minutes when you really want to understand. We listen to a lot of incoming sales calls, and we train salesmen to say, absolutely, I could totally help you with that. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. Let me pull that up in the computer. While I'm pulling that up, can I ask you, what got you interested in this particular blank? That one question, just people go off, right? Well, we had one, they just start telling you their story.
They want to.
It's almost like, oh my God, finally somebody asked.
Right.
That's almost what it feels like when we listen to these calls.
Right.
As opposed to, as you said, salesmen, just the facts, ma'am. They stick on only the mental side of it, the logic side of it. And the logic side of it says the price is too high. Right? So we want to go for that emotional. That's a great point, Grace. So really today's episode, creating comfortable conversations, right? They're just a part of our communication skills. It's taking your good questions, instead of being a list, just the facts, man, they are gateways to learn more. And as your buyer speaks, you're going to hear clues to what they want to talk more about, clues to their life that you can get off your pre-designed list and ask a really nice follow-up question to get more information. Okay, I want to leave you with one last tip. In sales, it can be that some salesmen are afraid that customers will just keep talking and waste a bunch of time. And can I tell you, it's true.
Sometimes, right.
I've seen salesmen spend 30 minutes in their office and run out of time with the customer. You know what I mean? So any good thing that we overuse, right? Any strength overused can become a weakness. So holding this comfortable conversation, we want to make it really good and meaningful and learn a lot. We don't want it to go on forever.
Right.
So if you have somebody that wants to keep talking, try this and do something like this. Grace, wow, I'm sorry. I could talk to you about that forever, and I know that's not why you came in. Sorry about that. I got distracted. Anyway, let's go on. So I will make the reason we're talking about this thing endlessly my fault in order to move us forward.
Right.
You have to learn how to help your customer have a comfortable conversation too.
That's true.
A lot of them are not professional communicators. They're not trained. They're not yet listening to Prepare to Win. Just joke. They don't know they don't really know. And so many of them aren't. I mean, you have you got different personality types too.
Right.
And so once you get them talking, some of them don't know. We had a guitar player in the band once that didn't know how to stop playing the lead. It was like, all right already, right? And so kept playing and playing. And it was endless. And you kind of, people are leaving. Okay, so we've got to know.
Right.
We want to end on a high.
Absolutely.
And keep it comfortable.
For sure.
So I'll just give you a tip on how to end. So today, very important, creating comfortable conversations for life, for work, any place you work. Especially if you're in sales.
Right.
Get off the checklist and use your checklist as a as a way to create comfortable conversation.
That's right.
So don't have an agenda, we call it, have a game plan. And the game plan is I want to know you. Grace, I want to know not just what you want, more importantly, I really want to know why you want it now, and how it fits your life. You know, your family
That's right.
and your work and the things you do outside of work, your playtime or your hobbies or things that you think are important to you in your life.
Right.
I really want to know that. That's what we call holding a comfortable conversation. You know what? Everything we talk about is a skill set. I think people think you either have it or you don't, and that's such garbage.
I agree.
It's such garbage. Either you have it or you don't. The things we're talking about can be learned,
Right.
right? But to get any skill set, it requires mindfulness. Where am I now? Where do I want to be? And what do I need to do to improve to get there?
That's right.
Skills can be learned. You have to be mindful. You have to make a commitment, make a decision, and you have to pursue it. I think practice is the only way to develop a skill set.
Absolutely.
And so I tell you this is interesting. With new salespeople, we used to say when you're at the grocery store waiting in line, turn to the person behind you and say to them, "Wow, it's a beautiful day today. Is it supposed to continue all week?" And practice having conversations. Because people will say, "Well, I hope so. My kid has a Little League game tomorrow." And you're going to go, "Wow." I mean, is it like a local game? It gives you the practice to ask those good follow-up questions. It also helps you uncover the fact that everybody wants to talk about what they got. Facebook knows that. Everybody wants to talk
Right.
about what they have going. They just don't feel anybody's listening. If you hold a comfortable conversation with your customer, they are going to want to listen to you, right?
That's right.
Okay. Grace Lapoy, David Lowe, we want to say be better today than yesterday. Seek excellence this week and good selling.